When Bill Helmreich set off to see New York City, not just the landmarks we know, but the hidden gems, he knew it would be a long journey. So this is where you started on your walk.
Right. It's amazing how quickly it all adds up. And then
What did it add up to in the end?
6,048 miles.
6,048 miles.
That is like walking to Los Angeles and back as the crow flies, and then another 971 miles to St. Louis. It was really a long walk.
It had to be if his mission was to write a book called The New York Nobody Knows.
It's part of a preserve here.
He took his first steps near the city's outer border in Queens. You must have worn out a few pairs of shoes.
9.
9.
Look, it's 30 miles a week, 120 a month, 1,500 a year, and in 4 years you're at 6,000.
This is Aurora Pond. A professor of sociology at City College, the 70-year-old Helmreich walked almost every street, nearly 125,000 blocks, from the best known, like Times Square in Manhattan, to the most remote. Yes, deep in the Bronx, New York has a waterfall. The idea for Helmreich's book came from a game he played as a boy. His father called it Last Stop. They'd hop the subway near their Manhattan apartment and ride it till the end of the line, then wander the city from there.
After we ran out of the last stop, we go to the second to last stop, and then we go to the third last stop, and each time it was totally different.
For 4 years, through all 4 seasons, in all kinds of weather, Helmreich systematically walked the city, taking notes as he went about the places he saw and the people he met.
If I could say anything about this city that sums it up, is that it's the greatest outdoor museum in the world. It's a whole discovery.
In an industrial neighborhood in Bushwick, Brooklyn, he stumbled on this art alley, an open-air explosion of expression.
When you walk every block in New York, you stumble upon things you would have never stumbled upon before. I couldn't believe that there was this fantastic place here, filled with all sorts of murals.
More than 100 of them. He met local restaurant owner James Loritz, who explained how it started.
We just wanted to do something to start improving the look of the area. And as soon as we put up a few murals along this one wall, it just kind of took off, and we started getting permission from more and more landlords, and artists started showing up wanting to do murals, and it's really just kind of grown out of control.
All of this has happened in what, about 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Further into Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, on an otherwise quiet street, he found this inviting yard filled with superheroes and villains, pop icons and starlets, an homage to nostalgia known as Steve's Playland. This is Steve's Playland, and this is Steve.
How are you?
How are you, Steve?
How are you? Hey, Bill.
Steve.
How you doing, buddy?
How long have you had this place, Steve?
Going on 14 years now.
And what's the idea behind all this? What do you...
Well, originally it started out just for me personally to bring back a lot of my childhood memories. I tried to bring it back to me physically in this garage. So when I go in there, it sets me back in time.
Steve Campanilla's personal playland is open to anyone who happens to stop by. You must have sunk a small fortune into this, Steve.
I did, but I don't think of it monetarily. This is strictly for my personal pleasure.
Yeah.
I get a lot of joy out of doing it, and I get a lot of joy out of coming in here and just gazing now and then.
In the middle of the Bronx, Helmreich learned about this church where exorcisms were once performed. And it's a bike shop.
This is a special bike shop because it's run by a man who's sort of a doctor of bicycles.
I can actually feel his wheels touching the rubbers.
In Harlem, he found Donald Childs, who diagnoses a bicycle's problems with his fingers or a stethoscope.
You know, I always wanted to be a doctor, but I never thought I was going to be a doctor in bikes. Everywhere I go, people say, hey, doctor.
And out in the St. Albans neighborhood of Queens,
You must take the A train.
he wandered through a lost center of black culture. So, all these people lived here.
Yes, they all lived here. Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne, John Coltrane.
Fats Waller? James Brown. And it was because of this line, really?
In large part, this took them right into New York City, and then it was an easy hop to the Savoy and to the Roseland, where they performed.
It's an incredible concentration of talent in one area.
It really is.
When Helmreich had finally exhausted every corner of New York City,
I ended up here.
he came to the end of the road in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
This was mile 6,048. And I approached it feeling, I wouldn't say relief, I felt exuberant. And when I looked to the left, and I saw the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building and all the iconic structures of New York City, of Manhattan, I felt this was a very, very fitting place to end the journey.
But the New York nobody knows has proved so popular, Bill Helmreich has been commissioned to write separate guides for each of the city's 5 boroughs. So he's off again on another journey that he expects will keep him walking for another decade.